For the past 150 years, Bradford has become a diverse and cultural city due to the mass immigration throughout the last century. This all started in the first half of the 19th century, when Bradford was one of the leading cities in the world in the textile industry. The huge amount of mills throughout the city meant that there was a huge need for labourers, and it was at this time that people began to come to Bradford from all over the world. The immigrants to arrive within the city were the Irish. After the potato famine in 1845 to 52, thousands of Irish people fled the country in the hope of finding better prospects and better standards of living. In the 1850s, roughly 10% of Bradford's population was Irish, and many of them hoped to find work in the booming textile industry. Migration to Bradford slowed between the 1880s and the Second World War as the textile industry began to decline. However, following Germany's invasion of Belgium during the First World War, small numbers of Belgian refugees settled in the city. Immediately following World War II, significant numbers of migrants arrived in Bradford from Central and Eastern Europe. Approximately 3,400 were Ukrainian and 4,000 Polish. 1,200 came from what was then Yugoslavia and smaller groups from the Baltic states, Hungary, Austria and Germany itself. Most recent migrations to Bradford, which took place from the mid-1950s onwards, also brought the largest influx of people to the city. These migrants came from Pakistan and from the new Commonwealth countries in Africa, the Caribbean and Asia. Initially, Asian men came as short-term migrant workers, intending to work very hard and save money so that they could enjoy a better standard of living when they went back to Asia. However, as time has progressed, families have begun to settle more and more in Bradford. To England from Pakistan to work in one of the many factories that I had heard so much about in Bradford. I decided that if I was to make anything of my new life, I needed to be able to speak English fluently. I arrived in England and with the money I had saved in my home country, I took one-to-one lessons in English. After I had grasped the basics of the language, I began to look for a job in the local factories. Unfortunately, I could not find work in this area, so I decided to learn how to drive. After passing my driving test, the only work I could find was in a taxi firm. However, I knew that if I persevered, I could find much better job opportunities. After 10 years of hard work, I finally succeeded and am now the owner of my own driving company. If I had have stayed in my home country, none of these opportunities would have been available to me. My family would not have had the life they deserved, and I would not have done what I wanted to achieve with my life. In 1976, I left school and my mother got me a job in Drummond's Mill as a warehouse boy. In that period, Bradford's industry still relied on textiles. What I recall from that period of time is that everybody still had a good old-fashioned log or coal fire, as central heating was very rare. Throughout my time at Drummond's Mill, I earned £30 per week, but in those days you could buy a house for around £10,000. Sounds like peanuts now, but a lot of money in those days. After my job at Drummond's had ended, I accepted another job at AE Turbines in Eden. Now, this job I really enjoyed. The job entailed making turbine blades for aircraft jet engines, of which I earned good money. But like any job, I was told to take redundancy after 1.5 years because I was the last person into the workplace. After that, I worked in a carpet sales room, and I hated that job. I hated that job because people were so rude and ignorant, and I was treated much worse due to the foreign aspect of my name. Now, let's see what I recall of Bradford in the late 70s and early 80s. It was a wonderful city with rich heritage like the Odeon and Alhambra and huge department stores such as Debenhams and Busby's.